In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 106 of the Eco-Cha Tea Club, an Eco-Farmed GABA Oolong Tea from Taiwan. Batch 106 of the Eco-Cha Tea Club is an Eco-Farmed GABA Oolong Tea from Taiwan. GABA, G-A-B-A, is the abbreviation for the long scientific word gamma-aminobutyric acid, which is a neurotransmitter, a naturally occurring compound in our nervous system that is responsible, or at least is involved in the calming down effect following a fight or flight or an anxiety type state, physical and psychological state. It's the chemical that helps us calm down. And starting in the 1980s, a Japanese scientist researched tea leaves and found that by oxidizing them in an oxygen-free environment, the level of GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid, increases manyfold. So he started producing a health supplement, basically, something that would help people to calm down. It is said to reduce blood pressure, help healthy sleep patterns, and promote a balanced, more calm state of body and mind. That is what GABA has been promoted for decades now, as a health supplement originally. And then, because it was tea leaves were being made to produce a GABA health supplement, the demand for GABA tea increased maybe 20 years ago, I think, just roughly estimating. And Taiwanese oolong tea makers got on it and said, oh, we'll use our skill set in oolong tea making to produce a good tasting GABA tea. Evidently, the green tea, or whatever was being produced originally in Japan, I believe it was green tea, was not nice in its flavor profile. It just had this kind of stinky quality to it, based on this oxygen-free form of oxidizing the leaves. It's kind of an oxymoron there. Our good friend, who we've become good friends over the years, mainly because his family has been our source of GABA tea for several years now. He's not only one of the best GABA tea makers that we know of, he's a pioneer in organic and actually even more so radical natural tea farming. To give a quick overview, he does not irrigate his tea trees, he doesn't fertilize the tea trees, and of course he uses no chemical pesticides or any type of pest repellent at all. He allows his tea trees to grow naturally. He pushes down the weeds rather than cutting them in order to promote a much more alive ecosystem among the tea trees, and has been successful. There's a group of farmers in his area, his community, that are following his example. He, I'm very sad to say, passed away earlier this year, and his son has fully taken over the tea production, who has been working with his dad for, I think, 4 or 5 years now. So everything is going smoothly in that respect. It was a great loss for us and for the tea community, especially the organic tea community. We're very happy that his family has committed to continuing his pioneering role in the community. So, their GABA tea. We like to share this when we can. Last year they didn't make any of their hand-picked GABA tea. We offer it in our store, a version of their GABA tea that is machine harvested, which means they just use hedge clippers basically to harvest the new growth rather than hand-picking them. That's the basic difference between our in-store product and this exclusive tea club offering, is that the leaves are hand-picked, and when they're hand-picked, they can be picked at the ideal stage of growth. So only the leaves that are very new and tender leaf material are picked for the making of this. It was a very small batch, as I think it always is when they make it. It amounted to less than 20 kilograms total. and they make it once a year, if that. So we find it quite special, and we just happened to ask at the right time this year, just a few weeks after the son made a batch of it this year, and we're excited to be able to get enough of it to offer it with our tea club. I brewed it, well, my idea with this tea is go veer light in the ratio of leaves to water in order to capture the complexity of the brew. If you go too, if you make it too concentrated, it'll taste stronger, but it'll lose the complexity. Ooh, thunder showers. I went with a 1 to 18 leaf to water ratio, about 10 grams in this 180 milliliter pot. I started at 45 seconds because the leaves are not tightly rolled, they're only very loosely rolled, similar to black tea, a curled leaf. And I didn't rinse, I wanted to capture that first hit of the leaves being soaked in water and to capture everything they have to offer. So 45 seconds on the first brew, 45 seconds again on the second brew, up to a minute on the third brew, and a minute and 10 seconds on the fourth brew. I have the fifth brew here, which went for 1 minute, 20 seconds. Without further ado, I want to taste it. Yeah, I got what I wanted. Very light, very vibrant, really kind of a tangy, vibrant profile on the palate. Well, I brewed this earlier today in a French press, and I didn't really pay much attention to the timing, and it brewed stronger than I'm brewing it, that I brewed it now. And it turned out a stronger, more substantial brew, but it didn't have this really bright, kind of zingy quality that I'm getting now. In general, it's very fruity because you have a sweet. Also, when I brewed it earlier today and it cooled down, I was getting a very noticeable sweet note, and it actually made me think of cinnamon sugar. It had this warming spice quality and very distinct sweet aspect to it, which I'm not getting as much of now. I'm getting much more of the tangy, fruity thing. When I first tasted it with its maker, he mentioned dried pineapple, and I'm reminded of that just now. So that kind of, pineapple has a pretty strong and can be intense flavor, but when it's dried, the concentration of the sugars is higher and it's not as tangy. Okay. Definite difference. I noticed even visually across the second, third, and fourth brew that it was brewing the visual brew, the way the tea looks, in other words. It gets a bit darker and more concentrated, and I'm feeling that in the flavor too, between the second brew from 45 seconds up to 60 seconds on the third brew. Much more, a thicker mouthfeel on the third brew, and more sweetness coming out. Still definitely a tangy aftertaste. There's more than pineapple for sure. I think depending on, what fruits we're familiar with and what our favorite fruits are, we might be reminded of several different kinds of fruit. I'm thinking passion fruit right now. Passion fruit has this really distinct contrast of sweet and sour. There's a very sweet aspect to it, and there's definitely a super tart aspect to it often. Let's see, I'm gonna go back to the first one. Oh yeah, it was way different. I am getting a malty, it's kind of, I don't know what happens to the palate. After tasting the stronger qualities in the third and fourth brew, I'm getting a more malty note in the first brew again. Yeah, I think my tongue has kind of gotten used to the flavor of it, so that very kind of first hit of tanginess I've gotten adjusted to it, and more of the malty sweetness is coming out. And that reminds me to mention some of the the processing methods. GABA is basically as oxidized as you can get without rolling the leaves to tear them and expose the sap in the leaves to the air, which is what they do with black tea. The leaves are rolled and vigorously rolled to the point of tearing, and the juice inside of them is exposed to air, and that is in order to fully oxidize the compounds within the leaf. GABA is a very extensive processing where the leaves undergo solar withering for much longer than any other type of oolong tea. And then they're brought in and they're put into these vacuum drums. Sometimes they pump nitrogen into them, but basically you're just, they suck out the air within the drum, and it's a steel drum. And they're allowed to sit in there for 8 to 10 hours for 3 intervals. And between each of the 3 intervals, they take them out and they put them into the bamboo tumbler, which is an essential part of oolong tea making also. But not for, high mountain tea, it's like 10 minutes, up to like 45 minutes for traditional made oolong, like Dongding oolong. These are tumbled for 2 to 3 hours, and then they're put back into the oxygen-free tank and allowed to set again for 8 to 10 hours. That's done 3 times. And finally, after 36 hours of that or so, they're taken out, they go through the tumble heating, cease oxidation, and in this case, they're only rolled slightly. It's kind of a hybrid rolling method between the tightly rolled ball and a curled leaf. The idea here is that its maker wanted to allow as much surface area or a significant amount of surface area of the leaf to remain exposed so that it could go through post-oxidation. So if you end up leaving this tea and don't drink it all in a short amount of time, it will change in character over time, like a few months later, and then half a year later, and 1 or 2 years later, it'll continue to oxidize more, and the flavor profile will evolve, so to speak. I'm going to taste the combo here. Yeah, again, I think I'm just well adjusted now to the flavor, so I'm not getting this zinginess. I'm getting more sweet, malty, with a tangy aftertaste, much mellower. That's amazing. It's got the cool thing about GABA, in my experience, is that it has that clean finish that not all black teas will offer. It's just this like a very dry, clean finish in the palate, which kind of makes the aromatic qualities pop after you drink the tea. Yeah, I find this much more soothing, the combination. I'll go for the 5th brew here. This went for 1:20, 1 minute, 20 seconds. It's way smoother. So there's my recommendation on the brewing. Start out, first of all, don't use too many leaves. Start out with a shorter brew and then slowly let it get longer, and you'll notice a nice transition of flavor. So there we have it. Eco-Farmed GABA Oolong Tea from Tumbling in Nantou County, Taiwan, harvested in July of this year. So this batch is fresher than what we have offered in previous editions of the Eco Cha Tea Club, in that before they would let it sit for at least 6 months or up to a year. We couldn't wait. We tasted it shortly after it was made, and we were like, it's fine as it is. We'll take it now. So we got a new kind of a fresher version of it this year. We'll leave it to you to decide if you want to age it or not. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.